everyone, Tyler DeLuca here, back with my 3 takeaways from this past week in women's college basketball. The season is officially going even more. The chaos has been electric. Let's get into it. We got to start having some tough conversations about LSU. Back-to-back losses, 76-70 against South Carolina, 77-73 against Mississippi State. Now, obviously, these are two good teams. I mean, obviously, South Carolina is the best team in the nation right now. Mississippi State is a very, very solid team in their own right. But the issues with LSU, they're consistent across the board. Even in the games that they've won and pulled out, they've been consistent. And the two things for me is that this is a very different identity from last year. Last year's team they were ready to go in the trenches. They were ready to be in a dogfight any day, and they were comfortable in that. If anything, they preferred playing in those type of circumstances. This team, to me, is not built in that same way, and that's okay. But when you get into these tougher games, they're not exactly built for it the same way that last year's team was. And I also think that we've seen Kim Mulkey talk about in post-game pressers how they haven't really been ready for these type of moments. And that's kind of now where you get into questioning the non-conference, where they really didn't play anybody. They played Colorado. They lose to them their first game. It's obviously, Colorado has been a very, very good team this season. There's no shame in that loss. But the rest of the way, yeah, they were winning, but they were playing against nobodies. And now it feels as if they're not prepared. And that is a very, very large problem. This is, we're talking the end of January, and you're still not prepared. That is a massive issue here for LSU. And the other thing that has also stuck out to me is they don't have a point guard. And it's been trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, trying to put Haley Van Lith as a point guard. That was the worry coming into this season for me, was that, yes, on paper, this team is more talented than the team that just won the national championship last year. However, the fit of these pieces, questionable. And those questions have been very, very loud recently. And Haley Van Lith is just not a point guard. And she's not doing what she does best because she's not being put in a position to do that. Now, is there an alternative? I honestly don't know. I don't know what the alternative is. Depth has also been an issue for LSU this year. They added a ton to the starting lineup, but the depth hasn't really come through for them yet. They've lost a couple pieces throughout the season, but it's worrisome. And honestly, I don't know how much of it can be fixed in this season with the roster makeup that they have, with the experience that they have together. I honestly don't know. Obviously, all the talent is there for LSU to make something shake, but the fit is incredibly questionable. They're missing a player like Alexis Morris last year to run that point, to keep things under control and get the offense flowing. They don't have that right now, and if LSU doesn't fix it, this season could be a massive disappointment in comparison to the roster talent that they have on paper. My next takeaway is pretty simple. I just want to know if the Pac-12 is ever going to act normal. That's all I want to know, because the chaos in the Pac-12 this year, obviously the best conference in the nation, and they've proven it by cannibalizing themselves. I don't know where the seeding of this conference when it comes to March Madness, I don't know where they're going to end up. I have no idea. I don't know what teams are going to be at the top, if they'll have any teams at the top with the way they keep beating each other. I don't know how many teams they're going to have in the tournament, because teams keep upsetting one another, and it's genuinely insane the amount that this conference is cannibalizing themselves. Just in the last week alone, you had Washington beating number 11 USC, Washington State beating number 2 UCLA, and Oregon State, who was a very, very solid team. Like, this isn't really a surprise that they won this game, but they blew out Utah, and that was a surprise to me. They win 91-66 and were up by like 30-32 at the end of the third quarter. For me, I'm just concerned for the purposes of, if you want a Pac-12 champion to come through this season, just in general, I'm worried about the seeding. I'm worried about how many teams are going to get in, because this conference just keeps eating itself alive. And when you think about those top contenders in the sense of, is a champion going to come for the Pac-12, there's some serious question marks right now around UCLA, with Lauren Betts being out with an undisclosed medical issue. That is obviously huge for UCLA if they do not have Lauren Betts available to them. We don't know anything about a timetable or anything of that sorts for Betts, so that's just kind of a, you just hope and pray for the best for her. But at this point, right now, UCLA might not be the top contender anymore in the Pac-12. The way Stanford is playing right now, they're looking like the number one team in the Pac-12 right now with Cam Brink and Kiki Iriafen. This Pac-12, the way that this is going to go down, the Pac-12 tournament, it's going to be so insane. And I just want to know if at any point this conference is going to act normal. All right, last point for me. Hannah Hidalgo, we got to start having those type of conversations. And what I mean by those conversations is National Player of the Year. She had her moment. That's kind of what I've been waiting for. Against UConn, she puts up 34 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists in the debut of her in one of these biggest rivalries in women's college basketball, Notre Dame versus UConn. And she was absolutely phenomenal. And I think that, for me at least, we've known Caitlin Clark had been doing this. She's had some of her big moments this season. We've seen Juju Watkins pick up that signature win against UCLA in her get-back revenge win for USC without Marshall on the court. That was kind of her moment for me. This was Hannah's moment that kind of takes her up, and you can pinpoint and be like, this is a National Player of the Year. And I think that's what this game was for Hannah Hidalgo. Obviously, the stats have been there. The wins, honestly, have been shaky for Notre Dame. Like, they lost games that you would like them to win, whether it be even against ranked opponents like Syracuse that they lost to recently. They're not high in the ACC rankings right now, but Hannah Hidalgo is just so undeniable about what she's doing. And if she can go on a run here at the back end of this conference season, she could absolutely become National Player of the Year. And like I said, now that we have that moment where we could be like, this player right here won them this massive game, and it turned around, or it created momentum, or whatever it might be. That's the moment. That is the time for Hannah Hidalgo where we can pinpoint and be like, this is a National Player of the Year candidate. She was just a tier below for me going into this game. She's now up there with Juju Watkins and Caitlin Clark as a potential National Player of the Year winner. She's absolutely incredible, and for a freshman along with Juju Watkins, for them to both be performing this way as freshmen, immediately coming in and having the impact that they're having, is absolutely ridiculous, but it's so fun to watch. So don't leave out Hannah Hidalgo from Notre Dame when you're talking about National Player of the Year. All right, y'all, that's going to do it for me this week with my 3 takeaways from women's college basketball. I will be back here next week, but in the meantime, let me know what you think about my takeaways and if you have any other ones, and I'll see you next time.